for the back end, it's good for the receivers to work as we go forward. And then the O-line and D-line, they can't, we got to really control that. So that's what we do out there. And you don't see a ton of pass rush because of that. So, anyways, but good work. I appreciated both sides and how they've done that. With that, time's yours.
Talking to Matt Nagy later today, what's it been like to have him back on the field and back on the staff?
Yeah, it's good to have him back. A lot of experience, obviously. Haven't been where he was, and he, he's a good person, and I think he's good for the quarterback room. He'll, he's been there and done that before, and has a lot of experience under his belt. So, great to have him back in there.
In what ways have you seen him grow from his time as coordinator now that he's, been in charge of his own team?
Yeah, well, I mean, having to handle everybody and everything, he's calm through those situations that we've had. I mean, we haven't had a whole lot going on so far, but I'm sure that's where it'll benefit him. Other than that, he's Matt Nagy. I like the relationship he and EB and the other coaches have. I think that's important, and that was one of the reasons of bringing him in, seeing if he'd sneak back here into Kansas City. So.
And you mentioned a minute ago a couple hamstrings. Tim Hardman was one of them. Who else?
I'm not going. Whoever wasn't out there, they had some hamstring. I'm not. It's off season. I never do the injuries in the off season.
Coach, with Pat not being here today, a couple of the other guys got some extra reps, right? How beneficial was that for them?
Yeah, it was great. It was great to, especially the last two guys.
Right.
Chad's had a number, but the last two, it's great for them. And you saw some good things, and they're working hard. You can see improvement with Shane from last year, and working into this year, it's a lot smoother operation for him. Yeah.
Coach, the fans get excited. They see plays on TV or on the internet about guys. How much can you really tell about a player at this time of year?
Yeah. So listen, nobody's getting hit. And there's something to that. This is one step. The next step is you get banged around a little bit and your body's tired. How are you going to fight through it? And mentally and physically. And so that becomes important. So the pace of training camp is a lot more vigorous than what you're getting right now because of the contact. And we'll see how things go there. But I like what I'm seeing out here. But there's another step to it. So it's good up to this point.
Coach, two guys will get to meet coaches are Brendan Daly and Joe Cullen. Just what went into that maneuver, just obviously bringing Joe in.
Yeah, so Brendan wanted to move on and try something new, and he came to me with that, and I think that's good. I mean, I did kind of the same thing with Greg on the offensive side. And I think for these guys growing in their profession, I think that's important if you can do it, if you have the flexibility to do it. So I was able to move Brendan up, and then Joe's he's got a great track record as a defensive line coach. So I think we didn't weaken things. We've got a good, strong core of coaches. So.
Coach, knowing that you got a lot of new players, where do you feel like they are at in the new players coming in acclimated with the playbook and the offensive call?
Yeah, they're getting there. We're adding a load in every day on them, and they're pounding through it. So I've been pretty impressed with how they're handling things, both sides of the ball, and that we can go out and execute and look like we've played before. So that's a plus. We can get some work done.
We'll go a couple more guys and get the assistant coaches through.
Andy, I just wonder, in the first iteration with you, EB, and Matt, is there a memory that sort of explains how well you guys worked together that first time here, and what gives you optimism that it might be even better the second time, even though the roles are changing between EB and Matt?
Yeah, I think the respect that the guys have for each other, I think, is the main thing, and they get along. Is there one thing? No, I wouldn't say there's one thing, but I could tell you that you don't have there's no friction, jealousies, any of that going on. That's you kind of focus on those and make sure that that's not. But I didn't think it would, and it hasn't. So The guys, they like each other, which helps.
I just sorry,
Yeah.
I wondered if there was an example from the first time where
Yeah.
you sort of saw both of them grow together to be better.
Yeah, I don't know if every week you have something where you get in a tight spot. In this business, it's full of tight spots, and it's easier to probably tell the friction than the good stuff, I guess. But they haven't. There's never been any friction there, so I would tell you it's been positive since they've been together in whatever role, right? So.
We'll go Todd, then Matt.
Coach, I hate to ask you something I'm not sure if you know about, but Tyreek Hill's got this podcast coming out. They dropped a teaser for it yesterday. It's tough to discern exactly where this is going to go with the podcast, but it seemed to be an intimation that perhaps he was suppressed here, play calling wise. Are you aware? Have you seen that clip?
I haven't, but you're good at asking those questions. You know, you shock jock, you know. That's a pretty dumb question, but that's all right. We'll go on to another one.
Let's go, Matt.
Especially if you know I haven't heard it. I mean, that's not,
Well, I don't know if you have.
yeah. I
It was
mean, yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Coach, I know you're limited out here in what you can do, but how beneficial is this time, particularly for the new guys and the young guys, that the training camp, they kind of know what's going on?
Yeah, it builds a foundation. I mean, that's what we're doing. I'm not telling you, you know, that it's not the hitting part of it, but it builds a foundation where you can at least get used to some of the tempo. You get the base load of the plays. So when you get up there and you have these next few weeks here to get yourself in primo shape, you know somewhat to expect. And then you can go up and play football and not be thinking or sitting in a cold tub somewhere trying to recover and not being able to function. So this gives them a pretty good foundation for that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, good, thanks.
How's everybody's doing? Am I leaving the phone here? Yes. There's a little phone there, good. Want to make sure I don't mess with anybody's utensils here. Any others? Good to see everybody. Beautiful day. We had a great practice. Good to be back at it. With that, I'll just open it up and let everybody fire away.
Steve, this is your first time here without Hitchens and
Yeah.
Matthew.
Yeah.
What's that like without those guys? How do you make up for that? Are there certain guys maybe you're trying to steer into those roles?
Yeah, listen, first of all, we're human, right? And their relationships are built, so I've missed people, you know, the guys you mentioned, obviously, and others. But in the profession as a coach, you know, you move on. We try to build and develop and come up with something else. The second part of the question with the leadership, we just kind of look and see where it goes right now. Some guys are natural, they step up. I'm in ears once in a while, you know, giving a couple of pointers here or there. And we'll see where it goes. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I think today was the 5th OTA. We can actually do some of the blending. But there's some positive signs, so hopefully it keeps going like that.
Coach, it was an exciting first round of the draft for the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
With these two guys, why were you in support of the trade out to go get Trent? And then I have a question on Carl.
Yeah, I mean, look at, we were just sitting there waiting, letting Brett Veach and his crew do their work, and he's asking questions, and there's a lot, but made the decision to go up. We certainly love what we did because of the player we got. I think Trent's going to help us. George, it was nice to have a second first-round pick, right? And George was there. I think Brett probably went through all of that. We're just happy we got two really good football players and two guys that I think are what we look for in character, passion for the game of football, work ethic, all those things. And it's showing up right now.
We see these clips on the phone, and you said to George, and it was revealed that you were kind of waiting and hoping that you
Yeah.
Why?
You know, it was the Zoom meeting that we had. I mean, because we had a lot of them, right? And there were other guys, obviously, in there that impressed me. But there was something about him that I said, boy, if we could get this kind of person in here, I think that would be an extra bonus in addition to the fact that he was a really good football player. But that's kind of what I was talking about when I said that.
Any details of that you can share?
Of the, But it was just, it was, when we do the Zoom meetings, in that particular one, Joe Cullen's asking a lot of the questions, I'll hop in, but I'm observing, I'm watching, and I'm looking at the faces, on those Zoom calls, the faces right there, right? And I'm just watching him, and I'm looking for body language, and this guy was just so into what we were talking about. He didn't want to get off the Zoom call, he wanted more questions. He just looked real hungry to me, and a guy that was passionate about the game of football, and I think that's exactly what we got.
Steve, you talked in the past about really making rookies prove their worth
Yeah.
before you put them in the lineup. Looks like, just looking at the depth chart, you're gonna have to be playing a number of guys or looking for some guys for some help.
Yeah.
Is the teaching process gonna be any different? Do you have to ramp it up a little bit, if that makes any sense with some of these guys?
No, there's no question about that. Yeah, there's going to be, there's a lot of new faces, there's youth. The system's new to a lot of the guys, even if they're not young. I'm going through a eyeball, what should we do, shouldn't do all the time. I'm throwing a lot at them right now, and they're probably talking that way. The volume's huge right now for a reason, to find out who can handle it, who can't. We'll never go into a game with all of this. So there'll be mistakes out there that normally I don't think we would make. There's going to have to be some growth, within the game, so to speak. We're going to have to live with some growing pains. I believe that. Hopefully we can overcome them. But I think that's the only way we're going to get it to where we need it to go. Because you're right. You just look at some guys are going to have to step up there and play.
I remember last year asking you about, why you all didn't have more size, height-wise, on the corners. This year, you all do have a lot of size with the picks that you utilize. What's that say, I guess, about the receivers that you're going to be facing, and then how well are they acclimating to your schemes that with the learning process? Yeah,
it's slow. Look, there's a lot for these young guys out at the corner right now, and they're going against a pretty good group of wide receivers. We're not even close to being there. We don't even know who those guys are going to be. But the length was important. I think the length's important to anybody in this league now because of the size of the wide receivers that you go against. We've always believed in that. When we had Breland and C-Dub out there, that's what we were looking for all the time. LJ is a long guy. We look for those kind of guys. So hopefully that'll help us. But there's a lot of growth needed. These guys are young, and they've been in different systems, and a couple of them are from small schools. So we'll find out if it's too big for them. We'll know when we get into the thick of things.
Well, just follow up on that. Obviously, you all drafted a kid from HBCU. What was it that was special about him that you all decided?
Yeah, he's another guy that was. Now he was actually here. Josh was here. You're talking about Josh, right? Yeah. He was actually here in the building, and so we spent a good amount of time with him. I sat down with him. He was impressive in the way he came off too, and then the length was big. And when you listen to the whole stories and how he got there and why he ended up at a smaller school, and he sat there and said, well, there was a chance this guy could have been at a bigger school performance. So hopefully he can be what we think he's going to be.
Steve, couple more guys. Go ahead, Harold.
Steve, when you kind of reevaluate what you do from a scheme standpoint, from obviously in the season to now, is there anything you've kind of tinkered with, or now is it just really just depend upon what the new talent you have?
Yeah, little tinkering in certain spots. It won't be anything that you'll see. But right now, I believe what we got to do is we have a system that we believe in. There's a foundation of what we do, and we need to find out about the guys that we have now. There's a lot of unknowns from a coaching standpoint. What can this guy do? Can that guy do that? Can he do the same thing somebody did last year there? That may or may not be the case. So it's going to take some time. I'm hoping that we've got it figured out by the Arizona game, but we'll have something figured out by the Arizona game. We won't know if the right one until the game's over, I guess. But
Steve, Justin Reid came in here last week, and he mentioned just how much more complicated your system is. And to Adam's question, you've got a lot of rookies, so waiting on them to catch up is one option, but maybe simplifying things is another option.
Yeah, we'll see. This was done on purpose. Anytime you come into a new scheme, I think it's going to feel different. But I tell them all the time that they're never going to go into a game with the volume that we have in right now. And that's not going to happen. But if we get into the 5th game of the season and decide that we need coverage A from the library, it's nice to know that we've already at least done something with it. That's the whole preface for using the OTAs for that.
Steve, when you look at your top group of rookies in terms of where they were drafted, both first-round guys, Cook, Chenal, I'll even throw Josh Williams in there. Do you see any common threads? I know there's a lot of different positions and a lot of different strengths and weaknesses. Any common threads? among that group?
They all look like, and we felt this when I think when we were evaluating, they love the game of football. I mean, you got to love this game. You got to have passion to play this game. I think that's the number one thing I look for in a guy. It's hard to determine it. You know, some guys will fool you, but I think all these guys do truly have a passion for the game, and they all appear to be, to this point, you know, guys that have football get it. That's the term I use, football get it. They don't have to have 4.0 GPAs, but they got to have football get it, and I think these guys have that right now.
Okay, thanks, guys.
They're good? All right. Enjoy the day.
Good afternoon. It's good seeing everybody back. I hope everybody's family has been safe and sound. It's 2022. It feels good to be back out there. Our guys have been working their tails off. Coach has been working their tails off. Got a lot of new faces, got a lot of excitement, building a brand new foundation, and it's time to go. With that said, I'm all ears.
Coach, you mentioned so many new faces. You got a lot of moving pieces right now at the wide receiver position. Through 2 weeks of OTAs, what's your assessment of what you see out there so far?
You know what? I've seen a pretty talented group. We got a lot of guys out there that can do a lot of different things. Got some bigger bodies. These guys have been receptive to what we're teaching them. I thought Pat did a great job of getting those guys together down in Texas to start developing that chemistry and start developing that timing. And so that helps, and it just carries over. But the communication has been outstanding. Those guys are working. We're establishing this foundation, and I'm fired up and excited about it.
Maintaining offensive production is going to be tough when you have Tyreek Hill and decide to move on. Just how daunting is that task, and how do you see your staff kind of come to the challenge?
Well, I mean, if you're in this business long enough, change is inevitable. It happens. You know, you can always replace the player, but you can't replace the person. Tyreek was loved. He'll be missed. But now it's time for us to make sure that we're developing the people that we have and getting them to do the things that we need. And I thought Veach and his staff did a hell of a job of selecting the guys that we brought in. Collectively, as a staff, I think these guys has embraced the process. They all bring something different to the table, and that's the unique part about it. I think it's going to be a lot of diversity because everybody presents something different. So it's going to be new. It's going to be exciting. And like I said, it's been fun. And you hear us out there. I mean, it's a lot of fun because these guys are learning something new for the first time. And so that's what's exciting about it.
What type of challenge, if it is a challenge, does that create for you, Andy and Matt, when you all are going back, looking at everybody, different skill sets, trying to figure out who to plug in where at which particular time?
It doesn't present any problems.
No, not problem, but I mean, is it a good challenge?
Oh, yes. You love the challenge. That's the beauty of it. And the thing that it does, because we've had so many people around for so many years, it forces us to go back, all right, to the foundation of establishing the foundation, of building it and making sure that we're addressing all the little details of every concept, so to make sure that everybody has a complete understanding of exactly what we want and how we want it done. So it's been fun, and it's been fun for us as a staff too, just making sure that we are reteaching it the right way.
Eric, how have you met Nagy back in the fall? What's that been like for you? Andy just said there's no friction, no jealousy, you getting along. How is that relationship been?
Nags is my guy. Me and Nags stayed in contact the whole time he was the head coach at Chicago. So it's been great having him back here. Obviously, he's been a great year. With him having experience here, obviously a lot of things that we've done is familiar with him. So it's been fun. It's been exciting. Every day we talk about something different, whether it was his experience as a head coach or our families interacting, doing things together. So it's been good. It's a homecoming.
Specifically, given his last 4 years as a head coach, is there something he brings to that, to the offensive staff?
Oh, yeah. He brings a lot. Because of that experience, you know, there's different things. I mean, you know, when you talk about situational football, different situations that he's been presented, opening new ideas to us on how to view things, just different things on how to scheme and how to attack things. So there's a lot of things that Nags brings to the table just because of that experience that he has. And then on top of that, I mean, he's just a hell of a coach, you know, and plus on top of that, we just enjoy him being around.
Coach, just a little bit of housekeeping, Coach. Obviously, you're kind of the face of this whole Rooney Rule diversity stuff. You were at the meeting last week, at the owners' meeting. Was there anything new that you learned? I mean, you've had, multiple, let's just say more than 10 job interviews with the league. Was there anything that you learned, or that they did differently that you haven't learned before? Was it more dog and pony show, or was it something that you took from it that will help the next time around that you get interviewed?
I actually thought the league did an outstanding job. So the thing that I loved about it, there was a lot of things, but one thing as a coach, we always have an opportunity to interact with other coaches. So that was good, obviously having that interaction. The thing that we don't get the luxury of is having an opportunity to deal with the Tim Terrys, or having an opportunity to go deal who's the next Brett Veach, okay, who's the next Ryan Poles. That was exciting because now you get to meet the people behind the scenes that make things work in personnel. I thought that was great, having that opportunity to interact with all the different people from around the league. On top of that, just sitting there having a conversation with owners and just everyday conversation. It just breaks down barriers, it breaks down walls where you can sit there, look someone in the eye, and have a legit conversation with them just about life. I thought they did a hell of a job. There was a lot of workshops. There was a lot of, education type deals. But on top of that, it was more of people who are in this industry like myself having an opportunity just to interact and understand how people view things when they're going through that interview process.
But when you're interviewing, hold on. When you're interviewing them, are you not meeting with the owners when you interview with them?
Yes, yeah, but it's a different setting. So Darren, you got to understand, it's just like me and you. If I go down to this bar and you down there, we're gonna sit and talk about different things, right? We may have a conversation about life, okay? What are some of your personal interests? What are some of the things that you value? So it's out of a business setting. It's a personal setting where you get to know people. And I think that's important because everybody don't know Eric Bieniemy. And so I don't know all those owners. And I think the benefit in what the league did was huge because it not only gave me an opportunity, but it gave the Vance Josephs of the world. I know Vance has been a head coach. You gave the Terry Josephs of the world, the Kerry Josephs of the world. I mean, I can go on and name so many different people. It gave everyone a voice and a view to see exactly from that window what it's like, okay, to interact with those people. But also on top of that, to have that opportunity to just say, hey, this is who I am.
Eric, with all that said, what do you have to do that you haven't already done to get a head coach?
I just got to go get it. I just got to go get it. I'm not seeking any comfort. I haven't gotten it for whatever reason. It don't matter. I'm going to keep knocking on that damn door, and I'm going to keep working my ass off to make sure that it happens. So my job this year is to make sure that we take care of the business that needs to be taken care of today to help us to achieve the goal down the road. But then it's time for me, when presented, to just go and get the job.
Other than winning games, like you say, are there things that you haven't done that you need to do?
I mean, you can always be better. I'm always going to take a look at myself, all right, first. I always make sure that I'm checking everything and making sure I'm checking every box. But yes, we can always improve. It's just like each year, even when we won the Super Bowl, what are some of the things that we need to work on collectively as a team? You always want to improve. So personally, yes, I have to make sure that I'm always evolving, because if you're not evolving, okay, you become like the dinosaurs, you become extinct.
Eric, is it tough though on that piece of it? I mean, you want to evolve, but is it tough when it hasn't gone your way not to feel like, what am I doing wrong? Not to feel like you need to change something about yourself?
I mean, in reality, yes, it is tough, but I don't let that keep me from doing what I do. I'm still alive, I'm breathing, and I have an opportunity to work with a championship team. So that's the beauty of it. And so the thing about it, like I said, I don't seek any comfort. I don't want any pity, because this is who I am. I'm going to keep pushing, keep knocking, because when it's all said and done with, I know who I am, and I am comfortable with the person that I'm striving to be.
Last one,
Nate?
In terms of football, how in this current form do you, Matt, and Andy get a collective one voice to Patrick and the other guys in the offense, and how might the previous time you all were together help in this sort of case, knowing that the offense is going to be different than when you last worked together?
It's been the same way since Coach has been here. It's always been a collective deal, whereas We're always looking for ideas, okay? Obviously, me and Coach are going to always have the final say-so, but we always want collective input. We're going to ask for collective input from Greg Lewis. We're going to ask for collective input from Matt Nagy, Dave Girardi, Joe Bleymaier, all right, Coach Andy Heck. That's the beauty of what we do, and that's why I believe we've been special over the past decade or so because of the input that we allow. And I think what it does, it allows us to put the organization and the team first and making sure that we're putting our players in the best situation to go out and be the most productive. And then when we do that, hey, it's just time to chop wood and go win. In the kingdom, baby.
Thanks, everybody.
It's good seeing you guys. Thank you.
First of all, appreciate everybody being here. What a day out there for some football. My name is Joe Cullen, defensive line coach. Great to be a Chief. Excited to be here. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Joe, welcome to Kansas City.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
What led to the decision? What made Kansas City the next place for you?
Well, a couple things. Obviously, it's a storied, traditional program. The Hunt family, Andy Reid, Hall of Fame coach, Coach Spagnuolo. I've known him for over 30 years. So, and the winningest team in the last few years, and excited to be here and be part of it.
Coach, what's your favorite thing about Kansas City so far, or just the team itself?
I tell you what, the starts at the top from our owner, from our general manager, our head football coach. Just every time you step in the building, everyone's trying to get better. Every time you step on the field for an OTA or a Phase 2 day, just chasing greatness and chasing another championship. That's what I love about it.
What have you seen so far from George Kalafdis? I know it's relatively early, but just learning about him through the draft process and then seeing him on the field, what's that process been like for you?
I tell you what, when we first started to really dig in and dive into what George was all about, there's been a lot of great guys that have come out of Purdue, and the motor just kept showing up. And the more we all watched him, and when he thankfully he fell to that spot, if that's what you want to say, where we were picking 30th, and when we decided to take him, it was a no-brainer. And then it's only even been better. I mean, Coach talked about slowing him down. He's a throwback. He's an old school. Goes hard every single play he's on the field. He wants to get better in everything he does, and I'm just really excited that we have him here.
Your past has shown some hybrid alignments, 3-4, 4-3. That kind of what we can expect here, and why does maybe this room fit what you like to do?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of that question.
Your past with the coaching alignments have shown some 3-4 looks, 4-3, and in the past with the Jags have said, like this hybrid type of thing. Is that something that you plan to bring here, and maybe why does the room fit?
Well, I think first and foremost, Coach Spagnuolo. I mean, I don't think there's a better defensive coordinator in all of football. His track record speaks for itself. I think he's been involved with both schemes, and I think I've been involved with both schemes. And I think whatever the defense that he decides to call, we're going to do. And I think we'll be multiple. I can tell you that. We'll be one with bringing a lot of pressure, all different looks. So I think we have all those variables that you talked about in this scheme here.
Joe, what are your expectations this year for Frank Clark and Chris Jones?
Well, I'll tell you what, those were two of my favorite guys when I was at another place when they were coming out. I mean, I expect those guys to have career years and play the best they have in their career. And if we do that, that'll elevate the whole team, and I expect that. And those guys are working. This is voluntary. This is not mandatory. I've been in touch with both of those guys, and love the way they play, and love what they're all about.
Any similarities you see when you're talking from Baltimore, when you're a defensive line coach, from what you're seeing now with the personnel on film, and then seeing them in person here in Kansas City, that you've seen that you can be like, oh, okay, I see kind of a role for this guy that I've seen in Baltimore before, something like that nature?
Yeah, I think we got a great room, and there's a lot of guys that will have roles. One thing Coach Spagnuolo will do, and we'll try to do, is give guys roles when they earn it, and I think there's a lot of guys that will play a lot of different roles for us in the fall.
How does you've had some off-field adversity at times in your coaching career. How does that
maybe influenced the way you approach coaching through the years and helping guys work through tough times? And how grateful are you to have an opportunity like this? You know.
Oh, this, like I said, this was a no-brainer when Coach Reid called, and yeah, I faced adversity back 16 years ago, and never got in trouble, and then I get in a little trouble, and you become a better person if you learn from it and you move on, and you could possibly help someone out that's maybe in a tough situation. That's what I've tried to do. I mean, I love the game of football, what it stands for. Teaches a lot about the game of life, and I think that's where it starts. And I think if I can help anybody go through a tough situation, then I'm willing to do it anywhere, any place, anytime.
Let's go last one, Nate.
I know you valued versatility in the past, but I'm just wondering with Chris, is the message right now for him to just focus mostly at defensive tackle, or would you like to sort of see him at defensive end, even though they were experimenting with him playing both positions last year?
Well, I think when Chris is on his game, there's not a better defensive tackle in the NFL. I mean, you saw that in the championship run. I mean, there'll be different spots he'll move around within the nature of the scheme, and I'm excited to get him in here and get rolling.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great. How are you?
We're good to go? Fire, how's everybody doing? Go ahead.
How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, what went into your mindset as far as making the move to the linebackers room? What was kind of your motivation?
There was a number of things. We lost a really good coach in Matt House. I was kind of interested in evolving a little bit and challenging myself and doing something that was a little bit out of my comfort zone. I think that's how you get better. I think that's how you grow and improve. And so that was a big part of it from my perspective. I felt like there's some things that I can add to the group and some continuity that, we can maintain while with that transition as opposed to having someone from the outside coming in. So we were fortunate enough to bring Joe Cullen onto the staff, who you guys just met with, I think, and it all worked out really well. So I'm excited about it.
I'm pretty happy with the talent you've got in that room with Willie Gay Jr. and Nick Bolton. I mean, you've got some quality young guys to work with, it seems like.
Yeah, I would say that's been really fun to be a part of. Brett Veach and his staff have done a fantastic job over the years in terms of bringing young guys in, Willie, Nick. We brought in a couple of veteran guys from other teams this year who've been a really nice addition. We brought some rookies in and added them into the mix. It's been a fun group to work with, really good people who love football, and there's great energy. They're fun to be around.
Where do you see Chenal fitting in? I mean, strong side, do you see him as middle? Where do you have a sense for that yet?
We'll see where that goes, He's been really good so far. He's picking things up. I'd say he's come in, all of those three rookies have come into a moving train in a lot of ways in terms of where we're at volume-wise. And a couple of weeks into the off-season program, they've been inundated with a lot of stuff in a very short period of time. I've been impressed with the way they've worked at it and handled it. I'd say we're still in the evaluation phase there. You know what I mean? We'll see how that plays out. He's done a really good job. We've worked him at the Sam linebacker spot. We've worked him at the Mike spot in base and, in sub defense. So we'll see how that plays.
Understanding your focus is day in and day out, getting the team better. How much does maybe switching position groups lend to potential aspirations to be a coordinator or something like that one day?
I mean, that may or may not happen. To be honest, I do think just getting myself into a different challenge is really what it's about to me. That's how I think you get better and you grow. And I'll be honest, it's been every bit of that. Every day. It's difficult. It's harder than it was when I was doing something I was in comfort zone with and familiar with, and that's been awesome to kind of force myself to work through that. So.
Two more, Herbie and Nate.
Hey, Coach, Nick Bolton seems like he might be the green dot for your defense. How has he done so far these 2 weeks, getting people in the right spot? And the second one to that, how much better can he be from last year's production?
I would say this. I was very impressed with Nick a year ago and what he was able to do, particularly from a mental standpoint. he's one of the people that the more you're around them, the more impressed you become with them, to be honest. He's grown from a mental standpoint. He's grown from a communication standpoint. He's grown from a leadership standpoint. It's been really fun to watch and impressive, to be honest. Like, it's pretty amazing the amount that he's handling at such a young age. You know what I mean? There's times I have to think that he's only in his second year now, you know? So that's been fun to see. It is.
With that, Coach, looking at Willie Gay entering year 3, where can he get better, and do you see his role sort of expanding, given the fact that Anthony Hitchens is no longer there?
Yeah, it very well may, and I think we've seen some jump from Willie for sure. You know, both from a leadership standpoint and from a football standpoint. You know, he's able to do multiple things at this point. You know, we've flipped his position a couple of times now, from his rookie year to second year, and then kind of back again, and he's handling that really well. I think that gives him a little bit of a more well-rounded and broad picture view of things, as opposed to just knowing his position. And that's been beneficial. I think that'll continue to help him moving forward. Yeah, I do think, you know, he's playing well for us. He moves really well. His energy at practice is great. You know, Willie's one of those guys who never had a bad day. He's fun to be around.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Absolutely.
Great day, guys.
You too. Thanks, brother.
Go ahead and fire away, guys.
Good afternoon.
Coach, what was your initial reaction to no Tyreek Hill in the room anymore, and how do you start to tackle trying to solve that?
Yeah, big shoes to fill. I don't know if one guy can do it, but the collective and the guys that we brought in, just starting from scratch, teaching everybody, you know, what we do, how we do it, and then really, I think kind of the story still to be written about how we fill that gap. We'll try to emphasize each of the guys' strengths and let them kind of write how they fit into the roles, and then where the offense goes from there.
Any first impressions so far with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, just from seeing him on tape, obviously now being with them day in these last 2 weeks?
Yeah, he's been great. He is the epitome of a professional. I mean, he comes to work, he's all business. He wants to know what he's doing, why, you know, the whole picture, the whole story, detailed. The athletic ability, I think, speaks for itself. When he gets into the classroom, you kind of see how he has gotten to where he's gotten. He is on his P's and Q's and wants to know and wants to learn not only what he's doing, but the whole offense. And I think part of that is coming, he's had success individually, and then he's been part of a successful team, and that's what he did in his past. So that's kind of carried over. And initial reaction, that's what it's been. It's been awesome.
John, do you see maybe there's more to his game than maybe he was able to do in Green Bay?
Yeah, and whether there's more, we're not going to put him into a box here. They had reasons for how they used him in Green Bay, and we'll see what he can do and how he kind of writes his place here with us without putting him into a box and saying this is what you did in the past. They had specific reasons. We may or may not have those same specific reasons, but there's obviously things that he does great, and you want to emphasize those strengths and then just kind of let him flourish and grow into the offense.
How big and beneficial is it for Josh Gordon, obviously him being there last year, but now getting a number of reps this offseason and you know, with the first and second teams, how beneficial and what are your expectations of him this season?
Yeah, I have big expectations for Josh. Like you said, the offseason here, when he got here, it was just as much as we could do to get him on the field and have him knowing his assignments. And he is extremely smart, intelligent. He knew he tackled all those challenges, and he did what we needed last year. Now he can kind of understand why, get on the same page with Pat, understand the timing and how he fits in with everybody else. Just not only the reps, but the depth and the feel, and him getting his stride back realizing where he was when he was at the top of his game, how he was doing that. That's really where this spring is where I've seen him come this spring.
And are you seeing him being more comfortable with the play call and the playbook and stuff?
Yeah, and he's always been comfortable with the playbook. I would say he's more comfortable with himself in the role, in the offense, in what we're asking him to do, and then how he can do it. Last year, he was just so focused on what we were asking him to do. He was just not neglecting what has got him to this point, but now he's just kind of bringing it all full picture.
In that wide receiver room, there's a bunch of guys that have been there, been wide receivers in the league for a while. Where do you see the leadership coming from?
Yeah, it's really been all the guys, and that's been one of the impressive things for me to watch. We've had guys, like you mentioned, that have had success in the league, whether it's MVS, McCole, Juju, even Josh, and they're taking it upon themselves to even mentor and coach the young guys. So they're new to this system. They're learning everything that we do and how we do it as well. And then some of the nuances of route running, transcend offenses. And they're able, with the success that they've had, to tell the young guys, here's what I was thinking, here's how I did it, versus all these different looks. Here's what coach is saying, here's how it plays out in real life. And having those 3, 4, 5 different perspectives from different offenses and different eras even has been awesome.
Along those same lines, remember last year I asked you this question, how you saw that number 2 spot. You said it was essentially a committee of players. When you have a Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS now on the squad here, how does this allow you to go back to a more traditional approach of a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3, or is it still a collection and it depends on the opponent?
Yeah, it's probably still more a collection. And before I even answer that, we're still trying to figure that out as we go and let those guys kind of dictate where we go with it, as opposed to saying, you're 1, 2, and 3, and this is what you can do, and here's what we want them to show us and showcase their abilities. And then as they grow and get comfortable with our quarterbacks, with our offense, with the roles that they've kind of carved out, then we can even narrow down and attack a defense or game plan for a specific opponent. But right now, it's just kind of everybody feeling it out and writing their own story.
Go ahead, Nate.
With the changes, obviously, at the position, one of the bigger ones is just the height, the actual just having a taller target for Patrick. How do you see that changing your, input in the offense, and how much do you think that can help Patrick based on just obviously being around in previous years, but not as tall of a receiver?
Yeah, there are ways that can help and that can change the offense. And one of the guys, Chad Henne, in the quarterback room has played with a number of different size receivers, and he's even been talking to Pat a little bit about when he had guys of a certain size, how they would run routes, where he would place the ball. It won't be so much scheme-wise, a totally different scheme, all new routes, a different system, but where the ball is placed, how they're attacking a defender, what the version of open is for these guys will be a little bit different because of their size.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach is going to walk off from the soccer question.
All right.
Matt, do you feel like after 4 years as head coach, there are ways you're better equipped to do the job you have now than you were 4 years ago?
Yeah, for sure. It's been a really cool experience for me. When you go away and you are able to kind of build your own culture from what you learned being here before, my time here with Coach Reid and all of our great coaches here, to be able to go through what we did. And, you have highs and lows and you learn, and you have so many different hats that you put on in that time. and you learn a lot, and you rely on the experiences that you went through, and they're real life experiences. So I didn't have that when I went into my interview with Chicago, but I had 4 years worth of real life experiences of a lot of different situations: offense, defense, special teams, how to deal with players, how to deal with media, how to deal with winning out, these conversations right here after a win or a loss. And what it does is it really allows you to grow, but it puts things into perspective. And I think in life, for me, a lot of my failures that I've had, I've tried to use to the best of my ability to make me better, whether it was as a player, throwing a pick, learning from it, or as a coach. As you go through things, you want to use those experiences to make you better in the long run. And I feel like I'm still young in this profession, and I want to use my experiences in Chicago to help me be better here for our team here in Kansas City with Coach Reid, with EB, with Patrick, with Brett Veach, with everybody here. And there's a little bit of humility that you have to do this, but I really cherish it because you're doing it with good people. We talk about being back in, I say, we're back in the weeds. I'm back, instead of 250 people you're responsible for 3 or 4. So, my son the other day was saying, "Dad, it's pretty crazy. You got a little bit more free time," and that's real. But I'm embracing that, and it's been fun. It's been, to be back in that quarterback room with Pat and learning who Chad. I remember Chad. I was watching Chad since he was a sophomore in high school. I actually coached against him when he was a sophomore in high school, and he put up as a sophomore 304 touchdowns. And I always remember, man, this kid's special. And now here we are, however many years later, and I'm coaching him here at this level. And then to be in there with Shane and with Dustin, to be back with Coach Reid, to be back with Eric Bieniemy, the rest of the coaches on this offensive staff, it's awesome. And they're just good people that do things the right way. And it's exciting for me. It's fun, and it's refreshing. So I want to use this to be able to give back any way I can. But also, too, I think it's important. Pat and I had him as a rookie. I was able to see him and Alex grow together, that partnership, and see him grow from his rookie year, from game 1 to the playoff loss against Tennessee, see that relationship build. And that stuck with Patrick. That stuck with me. And now to come back, 4 or 5 years later and see in that room how much Patrick has grown, it's amazing. It gives me chills to talk about it because I also know his ceiling is even higher. And that's exciting for all of us. But for me now, as Coach and I talk, I just want to be able to do everything I can to help us and do whatever we can to be great. And they're, in our quarterback room, for instance, Patrick and Chad and the rest of the guys will help me be better as a coach, and I'll hopefully help them be better as players. Put it all together and we roll.
Coach, I know you consider taking any time off at all?
Yeah, I thought about it. I think, when you go through what I went through for those 4 years, and there's a lot of good experiences in there, but at the same point in time, there's a lot of things that can, make you think, okay, you're able to maybe sit out a year and sit back, reflect, refresh. But in the end, after I was fired, I had some time to get away and to do that. And I think it got to a point where it just made sense to get. Football's in my heart, it's in my blood, and it's in my wife's heart and my wife's blood too, and my kids, they love it. And so why not come back to a great place, a special place, and get it going again?
Did you talk, Doug took some time off after
Yeah.
he left Philadelphia. Did you talk to him about his experience?
I did, yeah. Doug came to our camp last year, our training camp. He came and spent a few days, and we had some good talks about a lot of things, what we would do the same as a head coach, what we do differently. And I think every coach has their reason why they want to sit out or get away or get back into it. And for me, this is what was best for me, my family, for all. And it's just, I feel like it's a good fit.
Coach, you talked about the experience. You being in the quarterback room with Patrick's first season and Alex Smith. Did you try to duplicate that last year when you drafted Justin Fields? But then also your relationship with Eric Bieniemy. You talked about you all staying in constant communication. Any advice that you gave him throughout his interview process when he was trying to go to be head coach? Sure.
So to your first question, there was some similarities to what happened with Patrick and Alex when we did that, but that's not the, we knew it was going to be a little bit different because of the situation we were in with Andy and Nick last year versus Alex when we were here, 5 years ago. And so some of that was the same, but a little different, I think, to each their own. And, you know, again, you learn through that process, and those guys, I thought, those quarterbacks handled it really well. And it was, you know, it was to their credit that they handled it well. For EB, again, I just have so much respect for him as a person, number one, and as a coach. To coach 5 years with him as a quarterback coach, and then as a co-offense coordinator, and then a coordinator, the relationship that we built, you know, he's very, very passionate at being a teacher and a leader. And he has his own ways of how he does it, and I think it's special, you know. And so we've built a bond. And I think the beauty between the relationships we've had is that, you know, neither one of us have that ego where you feel like you know more than the other. And that's like, I come back here in my role that I just came from, and just to be able to see all the great things that have happened here since I've been gone, it's been neat to learn more. And with EB, to see him now in his role and how he does things, it's cool, you know. And we just work with one another. We're together, and I'm really excited to work with him for the rest of this year.
Coach, you left and you saw Patrick, and he had the 50 touchdown season, becoming one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. How much did watching from afar maybe make you look forward to this type of opportunity to work hand in hand?
Yeah, it was neat to see him do that right away. We were just talking about, were you surprised? No, wasn't surprised that he did it. He's just such a special player. I mean, he's rare. But then when Kansas City came to Chicago, and you got to look across the sideline and see that dude over there, it's like, okay, you know, maybe just score like 24 instead of like 42. But I'm so excited to be in that room with him, and just to see the personality that he has. He has a great balance of how to be a great quarterback, but yet be a great leader. Really, he's still coachable. You know, you think a guy like this, like, you've done everything. You've won a Super Bowl. You've been to 4 straight AFC championships. He's so coachable, and he wants that. There's a hunger there, and to me, that's what's exciting for me.
Was that surprising to you?
No.
He's got a meeting at 2 o'clock, guys. We're really sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't surprising. It was, to me, it's just something that he has, and I think we're very, very lucky. So sorry, I can't get fined.
49%.